continue and work through it. I am in any case also going to put the recording back onto our WhatsApp channel, and it will be on the YouTube channel as well. So let me just, for the people watching and maybe not on our WhatsApp group, if you want to join the WhatsApp group, just send me a WhatsApp on 083-790-8387, and I will add you to the group. Okay, so basically this morning I'm going to start looking at previous exam papers. So we're going to work through one of the June papers of 2020, and we will see how that goes. I think this is also very good prep for you guys to see what will be in your exam as well. Okay, so let's start. And I think what will happen also in your exam is the questions are not like in other some subjects where it starts with your study unit 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. It will be a mix of your study units. So most likely they normally do start with a simple interest or simple discount question, but then it can after that be anything. Okay, so the first question, and what I always just like to do, and it's a bit difficult with you writing the online exams, but nearly want to say, okay, but look at the things that we need. So the amount of money you have to invest at a simple interest. So we know we're working with a simple interest rate, and then things that are important within that is, okay, there's a 15% per annum. We want to earn an interest of 5250, and that is after 3 years. Okay, so a few things that we can already pick up there. So what they telling us is we need to work out the amount of money you have to invest. So we need to work out what your P is, but for that they give us an interest. Okay, so the formula that we're going to use is one of the first formulas nearly, and what I will do in the next, let me just make a note here. I will in the next week share with you a formula page that I have put together of very important formulas. But so basically, we are given the interest. We need to work out basically the principal value that we needed to invest. They give us the rate, they give us the time as well. Okay, so all of those things are given. Because it's simple interest, we can't use our functions of your financial calculators, because to work out present value, future value, those things, it's all and only for things with compounded interest. So we will need to work with a formula. We will need to work out what P is. So I want to isolate P, so I'm just going to change our formula a bit. Also showing you this because it might be that at a stage they give you certain formulas and you need to manipulate it. So I think that's also important nearly, and And there is, I think, one or two like that in the paper somewhere that we need to manipulate formulas and make something else the subject of a formula. Okay, so we've got the interest, that is 5250. Then we got the rate, it's 15%. So remember, 15% we can also write as 0.15. And then they tell us it's for 3 years. And that will give us our money that we need to invest at the beginning. So it is basically 5250 divided by 0.45, which give us 11666.67, which is option 5. Okay, quickly just want to show two other things in here. So if my interest value is that, the P can never be smaller. So those two you can nearly already cancel out as not being part of it too. So there's certain small things that one can nearly see and say, but okay, this can't be part of my answer set. Okay, so but still in the end, 10,000 and 11,000 is close enough to say, well, we need to work out what we need to find out. Okay, so this was the first question. So when we go into the next question, I think, and it would be also interesting, we've had some battles with some of the subjects that they should start taking away none of the above. I don't know if in your assignments they still had it and in the mock exam, but we definitely have asked that some of the subjects start taking that away, because that's not really, especially in your online environment, where if something goes wrong and then you always feel like none of the above. So I think just important that we hopefully that is starting to fall away. Okay, so don't know what happened to question 2. It might be that I moved it a bit around so that we can only start looking at the simple interest questions first, and then work through it as we go through the study unit. So question 3 talks about Jacob that invests money. So again, pay simple interest after 6 years. So also what they love to do in the subject is to sometimes, when they could have just written down a number, they put it in words so that one doesn't quickly automatically picks it up. He then receives the amount that is accumulated to that. If simple interest is round off to 2 decimals. Okay, so this is one of those that you should be getting right. It's basically simple interest. Again, important. You can't use the built-in function of your financial calculators because that only looked at compound interest. Um, so we've got the formula. Again, we now need to manipulate it a bit because we want to work out what is the simple interest rate. Okay, so I'll first write down a few things. So I'll firstly nearly say, okay, but we need to get rid of a P. If we do that, um, what's left is 1 plus RT. So then we'll take over the 1 so that we have S over P minus 1 is equal to RT. Then we want to isolate R. So then we need to take this whole thing and divide by T. Okay, so it is a bit time consuming to manipulate to get it to what we want to get to. But at least then you can see how we can use it. So if we also needed to solve T, very similar process, we would have then just divided by R. Okay, so now we can substitute in that formula. So we've got the future value, the S is 12,859. We've got the present value is the 8350. I'm gonna minus it by 1, and then that we're gonna divide by the period, which is 6 years. Okay, so when I get my calculator, 12,859 divided by 8350, I got 1,54. I minus that by 1, I get 0,54. If I divide that by 6, I get 0,09. And I need to multiply that 100 by 100 to get a percentage, which is 9%. Okay, which is option 4. Okay, so in this question, we needed to work out the interest rate. They give us all the other information that is needed, so then it is possible to work out that interest rate. Okay, they could have not given us the time period, given us the interest rate, and then we would have been able to work out the time period as well. Okay, so question 1 and 3 was on simple interest, and that's why I said at the beginning nearly, are they going to do it in the exam as well? They are going to mix it up, but I nearly wanted to put all the simple interest questions together and those kind of things, so that we just work through it step by step. Okay, so we got the first one was simple interest, where we got the interest component. The second one was simple interest, where we needed to work out the interest component. And the third one, that is now question 6. Let's look at what they ask us in this one. So again, because it deposits money into a savings account that earns 8.5% simple interest, he intends to withdraw the balance, and basically want to ask us what amount of money did Nkosi deposit. Okay, so this one, what we're actually testing here is counting of days, and I think also what is important, and you guys can just let me know in the chat. I assume you're writing open book, but just let me know in the chat what if you're writing open book or not, what is allowed. But for counting of days, you need a table. They normally have provided you a table within your study guide. If they do sometimes give a pack of information that's needed in the exam, they might add it there as well, but you can't nearly work this out without that table. Okay, so I think that's important. So I know you guys are using one of the exam tools that does take videos of yourself, but again, this must be something that you must be able to read from a table or from something else. So firstly, we need to identify how many days. So from 16 April till 8 December. So that will be our time period. They give us the interest. They give us the end value. So then it is possible to work out the beginning value. So the formula again that we will use is again the simple interest one. So unfortunately, we cannot use the built-in functions of your financial calculator. We need to work out P. So again, some manipulation of a formula is needed. Okay, so your P will be equal to S divided by 1 plus RT. So let's see, we've got S is 2599. We've got 1 plus R, which is 0.085. So again, just be careful when you put the percentage into a number or decimal. So divide that by 100 and you will get 0.085. But now we need to find out how many days. So we know there's 365 days in the year, but how many days are between 8 December and 16 April? So if you go to that table, you will see that 16 April as the number of days as 106, 8 December as the number of days as 342. So if we subtract these two numbers, that is the number of days that we have. Okay, which is then 236. But again, you can't can't really work without having that table for counting of days. Okay, because I'm not even going to try and count on another way how many days are between 16 April and 5 December. Okay, so just important when we look at counting days that also for the exam have that table with you, because they will somewhere um, in the exam, in one of your questions, there will be the counting of days. So I think it's just important have that table close by so that you can work it out. Okay, so then if we work out, let's work out the bottom part first. So 0,085 times, plus. We want to make sure that, okay, so I've done something wrong here. Important that I just, so it must be multiply. So 0,085 times 236 divided by 365 gives us 0,05496 plus 1. So we will have 2599 divided by 1.055. And that is supposed to give us 2463.60. Okay, which is option 3. All these numbers very close to one another. So most likely if you are off by 1 or 2 days, it will be one of the other numbers. So you can see between the highest and the lowest, there's about 5 Rand difference. And that 5 Rand can be 1 or 2 days that makes that as a difference. So again, very important nearly to use those tables so that we get the number of days correct. Okay, so we've basically, the first 3 questions as have covered interest or simple interest, where you needed to work with the interest formula, where you needed to work with the simple interest formula to calculate the interest rate, and then where you needed to get to the present value by using counting of days. So the next question in the setup is actually we're going back to question 2, because in this one, still part of that study unit 2, nearly simple discount. Okay, so again, just want to show you, I'm now putting it into how the chapters followed one another for the start, but here you can see between simple interest and simple discount. Question 1, so question 2 was simple interest or simple discount, then we go to question 3 and then question 6. So we will later on see question 4 and 5 is looking at compound. And I think, again, the importance of that is they want to nearly try to catch you out, because for these ones, if with a small amount or that we're looking at like a 5,000, yeah, it was 12,000 and 8,000. if you use simple interest and if you use compound interest, the difference in values will be very small. And that can also then lead you to make mistakes that you will normally not make because, again, it is a bit scrambled in the exam. Okay, simple discount. So when I look at simple discount, I nearly always want to first say, okay, but let's just jot down what the formula is, and then let's see what we have in this. So simple discount rate of 12%. So we've got the discount rate. You need to pay the bank 5,000. So I need to pay the bank 5,000. So that is a future value in 6 months' time. So we've got the time period, the amount of money that you will receive from the bank now. Okay, so what is the amount of money that you will receive now? Okay, so simple discount, that means that that money that I will receive now is less than what was to be paid. Okay, so with that in mind, my answer must be less than 5,000. Okay, so then those two I can already cancel out because it needs to be less than 5,000. Okay, so let's see. Got 5,000. Got the interest or the discount rate of 0.12. We've got 6 months, so 6 months is half a year. 0.12 times 0.5. So 5,000, and then in brackets, we have 0.94. Just want to check again if that is right. Your final answer is 4700. Okay, so again, some of these answers very close to one another. So again, if you maybe have used not divided by 12, it might be something that is in there. So again, just be careful with all of these. That it's very easy to make a mistake. If we put the P as 5,000, and needed to work out the S, then the answer we would have gotten is 5319.15. So again, if we used the formula but we worked out something different, there is unfortunately also the answer in the answers, which is not, yeah, it's again not cool because when it is very easy to make that mistake. Okay, so let's look at the next one. So the next one we start to look at compound interest. So we go into question 4. So let's again highlight some of the things. The accumulated amount that Marbe will receive after 38 months. If she deposits 13,300 into account, her money is worth 11.3%, compounded every 2 months. Sure. Okay, so that's an interesting one. So she deposits, she gets interest on a certain period over a certain few months. So what is important is nearly let's write the formula down. With this, you can start using your financial calculator as well, because we are now into compound interest. So there will be no issue in you using your financial calculator for this. Okay, so let's just I'm going to put that down there. Just take a minute or two and see how you would have structured that, and then I will quickly show you as well. Okay, so um, let's look at, we've got the amount she deposited, the 13,300. We've got the interest rate, so 0,1135 or 11.35%, compounded every 2 months. So if it happens every 2 months, it happens 6 times a year. And then we just need to remember, after 58 months, so after 58 months, there we also need to divide by 2, because if that is 4 months, um, it's every second month. So if we jotted down 58 and we circled every second one, we will get to a period of 19. Okay, so that is just important. So now I'm looking at this as we begin. If there was any numbers smaller than 13,300, we would have said, okay, but it can't be. In this option set, there isn't. So then it's basically to say, okay, well, if we take that 1 plus 0,1135 divided by 6 to the square root, or to the power of 19, we multiply that by 13,300, we will get our answer. I just quickly want to, on my HP, also just see if I put in all the values, if I get to that as well. 6 times a year. Interest 11.5. And so the answer 18,988.31. If you work it out with a formula, but also when I now calculate it in on my HP, so got my present value of the minus 13,300. You've got your interest rate of 11.35. Remember that it's 6 times per year that you need to change that, because the default is normally 12 times per year, and then it is for a period of 38 divided by 2, so period of 19, and then your future value will be the same. Okay, so by using the formula or by using um, your financial calculator, you will get the same thing. Okay. What was very interesting in this one is that it's not just straightforward. So they ask you around compounded every 2 months. So again, they can ask you compounded quarterly. So just remember those things that might be in your exam as well. Sorry about that. Some issues here on the sound. Um, okay, so next question that we go into seems like compound, but let's just quick read through it. And as we read through it, again, I think you guys can just check what you would do in this instance. Saki borrowed an amount from Lulu. The loan will be paid back by means of payments. So we sit here with a PMT. Every second month for 6 years at the interest rate compounded every second month. What is the present value? Okay, so again, if I look at this, some interesting things in here. This one I would work out with your financial calculator. I won't even go into the formulas. So we've got a PMT of minus 25. What I normally do, just to make sure that my calculator doesn't get confused, is I know we need to work out the present value. So I would just say my future value will be 0. Just that it doesn't from somewhere remember something. Um, so just as a kind of making sure, because yes, you can clear your memories and things like that as well, but sometimes one just forgets and you go on to the next question. So I would just, as nearly a safeguard, put in future value equal as 0. Let's look at what the interest rate is. Your interest rate is 7.75. Then again, compounded every second month. So we've have it for 6 months. So it is 6 times per year. Sorry, not for 6 months, 6 times per year. And they tell us the period is for 6 years. Um, so your period is for 6 years, so it will probably be 6 times 6 as how many periods there will be. And then we can work out the present value. Okay, so again, let's zero future value, 25,000 is your monthly or every second month payment, so that payment per term. Then we've got 7.75 as your interest rate. Again, going to happen 6 times a year for 6 years. So it is for 36 time periods. And then my present value, I get as 716,113,21, which is option 3. Okay, so I think important this one, again, some things that to take note of. So they talk about interest rate. It's compounded every second month. We get a period of 6 years, but then because it happens every or every second month, it happens 6 times per year. Then 6 times per year times 6 years, so there is 36 of those payments being made. Okay, let's quickly questions up until this point. Okay, let's continue, and let's see what is the next question that they are giving us. Okay, so here they're saying somebody called Bicycle agreed to establish the Spike Fund from which they will handle 2,500 per month indefinitely. Okay, so this is basically what is that called the perpetuity. Sure. As compensation for injuries is sustained while working on a Riley project. So money is worth 12.5% per year compounded monthly. What is the opening balance of this fund? Okay, so I think somewhere in your study unit on compounded interest, we had this formula of a perpetuity. So we know it's 2,500 the payment, 12% per year, but compounded monthly. So very important that interest rate is not just 0.125, it is 0.125 divided by 12. I don't think there will be an answer if we just divide it by 0.125, but I will just check afterwards. So 0.125 divided by 12 gives us 0.0104. So if we say 2,500 divided by 0.0104, our answer is 240,000, which is option 3. If we just said 2,500 divided by 125, yeah, there wasn't an option. So again, don't worry, but just be careful that you. So if I said compounded quarterly, that will be divided by 4 and not by 12. If I said compounded half yearly, it would have been divided by 2 and not by 12. Okay, so I like to ask a question like this in your exams because um, one is so focused on getting the simple interest rate questions, getting to your compounded interest that you nearly know how to work it with a calculator. So when they throw in a question like this, one is sometimes confused because it was somewhere in the study guide, but one doesn't always remember where. So just be careful when we look at perpetuities that you just make sure that that is also covered. Um, so what else they could do around this is they can give you um, the P amount and you need to work out R. They can give you P and R and you need to work out interest. So again, they can play around with it a bit, but that is how it will be nearly in those. You can basically get 3 things out of a question like this. So the normal one is where they ask us to work out what that opening balance fund is. But they could also ask us, by giving us that opening balance, what the payment per month would be, or by giving us payment per month and the balance fund at the beginning, what your interest will be. Okay, so that is around perpetuity. So now we're going into a bit still with compounded interest, but now look at, and again, this is something that we like to ask because it's also not always that when we practice for the exam that we really focus on the compounded continuously. It is nearly, we always know there is something like that, but not always really looking at it. So again, nearly marking this one, and let's mark the previous one as well, because this for me is just 2 of the questions that we love to ask, because it is not the things that we normally would focus on in really prepping ourselves for the exams. Okay, so the first thing nearly is to see what is the formula, um, and we sometimes we see this formula being used, and sometimes they just use the formula where C is replaced by R, so that you can just see it's the interest formula. So that is just because it's compounded continuously that we nearly say not C, but it can be used as R as well. Okay, so now if we look at this, what do we need to work out? What is the initial amount borrowed? So now we need to get to that P value. Okay, so now it's again that firstly we need to manipulate the formula. Again, this is not something that on your HP or Sharp you can do, because again your financial calculator is programmed only for compound interest, not for compounded continuously or simple interest or anything like that. So first, let's manipulate the formula a bit. So if we want to work out P, that is your accumulated amount divided by e to the power of something. So let's see, we've got the accumulated amount. Okay, let me just then let's see, what was your interest per year? Is 29%, so 0.29. And do they give us the time for 4 years? Okay, they don't. So again, just be careful. Interest per year, 4 years. So things that they can still bring in here is they can change that 4 years to, or not for 4 years, the interest, they can say compounded continuously, monthly, quarterly, so they can bring that in. Normally they don't. Normally with your continuous, it is as it is here. And then on our calculators, I'll do this nearly first. So I would say 0.29 times 4, which is 1,16, but then take the E of that. So we then sit with 38279.20 divided by 3,1899. And again, depending on how many decimals you going for, but you will not, by changing one of those decimals, get to a different answer nearly. So if we work that out, our answer is 12,000, which is option 2. Okay, so like the previous one on perpetuities, this one compounded continuously is a question that we love to ask. And it's the same with, and let's mark that one as well, the counting days one. So those three are nearly questions that, because we don't usually practice them so much like for others, that is definitely question that they love to ask in the exams. Okay, then we go into question 12. Sorry, question 10. So let's look at this one, because again, I thought this was an interesting question to look at. So Jack will need 20,000 Rand to buy his brother's old car in 2 years' time. Okay, so we've that is easy things to have. But then let's see where it becomes very interesting. He wants to start saving part of his weekly salary in an account that returns 9.3% interest per year compounded weekly. The minimum weekly payment that he needs to make into investment to have enough in 2 years' time. Okay, so suddenly now we need to think weekly. So there's a few things that we're going to put into our calculator. Um, so first thing, you will need a future value of 20,000 to buy the car. His present value at the moment is 0, so I'm just doing that. In the end, we're gonna get to a PMT. So that is our end goal, to get a PMT. So let's see, interest rate 9.3 per year. So that's actually fine. Yes, it is compounded weekly, but we will work with that now. So now that period per year where we normally would go for, if it is quarterly, we would go for 4. If it is monthly, we would go for 12. If it is half yearly, we will go for 6. Now it's weekly. Oh, anybody else that can see the screen, or is it gone for everybody? Just give me a thumbs up if you can see the screen. Okay, so let me quickly, I'm going to stop sharing and then reshare, and then let me know if you still can't see the screen. So let's just do that. So hopefully you will be able to see the screen now. Can I just get a thumbs up? Okay, cool. And the other guys can also see the screen now. Cool. Okay, so the next thing is to look at the payments per year. So very important, payments per year. Weekly is 52. Then what else do we need? I think we've got that. Interest per year, payments per year. How many years? 2 years. Okay, so again, I really want to highlight, it's easy to pick up the 9.3 because it's in numbers. They love to always put, so there's certain things that I just love to put in words, and then sometimes you don't pick it up because my mind is set up to look for the numbers, not really for the words. So just a tip nearly just to look for those words as well, because I know on my side, I normally read over that because it doesn't stand out for me. So I will, you could have seen now that was nearly the last one that I was now picking up is where's in. And it's just because as a number, it didn't stand out. And that's, again, very easy to make that mistake. Okay, so we can then put this into our calculator. So 20,000 as your future value, present value. I just again love to say 0, just to make sure that my financial calculator doesn't take something else. 9.3%. So we've got 52 times per year. So for 2 years, so that is 104 weekly investment payments that this person will make. And then if we work out the PMT, it's actually a small amount. So for him to buy his brother's car over 2 years, it will cost him monthly R175.15. Okay, so the things that I wanted to catch you out in this one is the weekly, and then just where they use the two instead of writing it as a number two. Okay. So again, this one was a PMT that we needed to work out. So one or two things, again, they could have given us the PMT and asked us to work out a future value. So there's other things, but again, you will need, if they want us to work out future value, they will need to give you a PMT. So again, they can't then leave that out as well. Okay, then the other thing that again is going to be important that you will also get, and what's important nearly in the next two, so it might not be that in your exam they do in question 12 in this one, in your exam as well, but let's get there and look at it when we talk about question 12. So let's highlight a few things. Okay, Poppy dreams of becoming a chef. She has a fund of 40,000 available to cover expenses at chef school over the next 4 years. Again, hiding the fall from me. She withdraws the same amount from her fund at the beginning of each month to pay for the chef course. If interest is 7.4% per year, compounded monthly, then the value of each monthly withdrawal is how much? Okay, so a few things in here. We've got our interest rate, we've got our period, we've got our present value. We will need to work out PMT. And then the most important one in here is the beginning of the month. All the others we normally do month end. This one beginning of the month. So very important. Again, now is you need to program your calculator to see it as the beginning of a month. So depending on your sharp or your HP, there's different signage that you use for it. So on my HP, it is BEG for begin. I think on a sharp, it is BGN. Okay, so I need to put my HP into the beginning mode before I start. Then the rest follows as we have, so as we've done previously. So present value minus 40,000. I just do a future value of 0 as well again, because there will be nothing left. Then monthly withdrawal, so the periods per year is now 12. In my calculator, it would have now still remembered the 52, so I need to change it to 12. It is for 4 years. So N is 4, but in total then there's 48 payments that's going to be made. And then I can get my PMT. Okay, let me just see, what did I now do wrong on mine? Yeah, I never changed my interest rate. So if I used the previous interest of 9.3, luckily there wasn't an answer for me. So PMT is 959.37. Okay, so option 4. If I didn't put it into the beginning mode, and I worked it out as usual, you will actually get the answer of 965. Okay, so remember, this is to do with the begin function. If I don't use it as the beginning of each month, then there is unfortunately an option for you. And you can see it's very close. So it is 959, 965. So just be careful, so that one doesn't make the mistake of just starting then without using the begin function. Okay, so next one. And this is nearly where you just need to make be very careful. So here and let's read through it. So Peter borrows 5,000 from the bank, and he will repay the loan monthly, starting at the end of the first month. Okay, so they didn't need to say end of the first month. Okay, so if they need to tell us beginning, but else if they don't tell us it's beginning, all natural transactions with this is normally end of a month. Okay, so it anything that you set up with a bank or insurance company around something like this is set up as the end of a month. That's when it goes off a salary, always end of a month. It's never set up as the beginning of a month unless they tell you it's the beginning of the month. So luckily with the question after the beginning, they tell you end of the month, so that you nearly now can remember, okay, look at your calculator. Okay, end of the month, I must change my calculator. Because it might be, and I'll show you again, if we work this out, it might be that you get a different answer. Hopefully not, but it might be that you get a different answer if you work with begin and if you work with end. Okay, so this basically means change your calculator setting from from the begin function back to end, or just take away the begin function. And then let's read again. Peter borrows 5,000 from the bank. So that is the present value. And he will need to repay the loan by means of monthly payments. So the PMT will be equal to 8,000. What they don't tell us is that we start borrowing 5,000 or 500,000. You pay monthly. When you're done, your future value is zero. So after the last payment, I owe nothing. Interest rate is fixed at 18% per month, compounded monthly. So interest rate is 18% monthly. So remember your periods per year that, or you're gonna pay that monthly is 12 times a month. And then we need to work out what is your N. Okay, so let's put that in. 5,000 or 500,000 negative as your present value, 8,000 as your payments per month. Future value is 0, 12 times per year, 18%. And let's see what is our N. Our N is equal to 186.22. And so the number of full payments that he would have made. So he would have made 186 full payments. The last one would not have been a full payment. So 186 full payments. Okay, so by following that principle, that is what we will get. I just want to check if we were working with, if we didn't change it from begin backwards, what we would have gotten. Okay, luckily not one of the answers. Then we would have gotten 172 if we worked with begin. Interesting again, so none of the above is not really, but just be careful, because it could have been that there is a value for begin as well. So in this exam, they actually, it was nearly nice from them to work from the begin back and say in the next option work with end, but again, it's not something that we need to tell you. So just be careful. So after you've done the question with the beginning of a month, after that already put it back into the original mode nearly. You will not get two questions on beginning. So nearly after you've done that begin function, please put it back into something else, that we can just don't work, because what now might happen is we're only at question 11, 12 with this. So it might then be that for all the rest of your answers, you nearly work with a begin function and you don't nearly realize why you're not getting the same answers. And it's just by one button that you needed to change. Okay, let me let's look at the next one. Um, so read through it, and then we will quickly look at it. Okay, so let's check what is in here and if we can. So you have started saving to replace your car when you retire in 20 years. Your first payment was 3600 at the end of the first year, after which your yearly payment increases. Okay, so we have here basically, and just if you want to later on go back to looking at your study guide, this is looking at the annuity increase. So just adding that for you guys. So if you want to go back to your study guide, so annuity increase. So just for myself, nearly what I always also like to do is with a more difficult questions, I nearly just want to write things down. Um, so when we look at annuity increase, the formula is normally this. So I'm just, again, it's more for me to remember nearly all the steps that one needs to work out, especially nearly the last component, that we just, because that's normally the one that I tend to forget. So what we can do is look at it. So I'm first gonna go through using the formulas, and then we might have a few minutes to see what else we can add to this. Okay, so they tell us first payment, the R is 3,600. It increases by 360. Intra That was interesting. I think somewhere we went to load shedding now. Um, the interest was 10%. Okay, so that component, and this component in here is done with. Do that component as well. And that's again why I sometimes, this is probably the only negative thing with a online environment. It's not as easy to nearly make it easy for you to um, look between the different formulas. So when I can use my coloring pens, it's actually very nice to. So if we then look at this last piece that we will add, because we now need to work it out over a period of time. So this is the yellow component. Okay, so if I work this out, we've got our monthly payments. So let's quickly check what that will be. So this will give me my future value component. So 3600 plus what is Let me just quickly multiply everything out that is in this bracket. So it's 1 plus 0.1, it's 1.1 to the power of 20 minus 1 divided by 0.1. And so if I take this, which was 7200, and I multiply it by this one, which was 57.28 or 275, I get a value of 412,380. Okay, so that's this purple and yellow space, which I have just put it as my future value. But then, and there is the answer for that, unfortunately. But I still need to subtract, because of that formula, that nearly monthly increase that was in here. So now I need to say, the 360, that is Q times 20, because it's for 20 years, divided by the interest. It was 0.1. So I still need to subtract from my formula the red component, which is 72000. Okay, so that component is basically that, which then gives me a bit of a different answer, 340,380. Okay, which is option 2. So very important with this one, we've got the increase in the annuity, that there's, remember that piece that we need to subtract. So, and that is nearly because what we've done here is to say we're increasing the payments every month, but this nearly looks at it for the total 20 years. So we still need to subtract the periods that didn't get the increase. So, and I think that is just the important thing is, if we don't include this piece that we're subtracting, we're actually saying that we have increased all our premiums at the beginning of that 20-year period. So that's why with an annuity increase, there's always a small piece that you need to subtract, because not all your payments had the annuity increase. So just important, that, because your first one would not have received an increase. But if we then use it over 20 years, it nearly sees it as we did. So that's why it's important that we nearly subtract that component. Okay, so that is it for today. We'll I'll chat on the WhatsApp group on what time suits you better. It feels like maybe the Sunday slot is a better one than the Friday slot, but I will get your response on WhatsApp. And for guys that's not on the WhatsApp group yet, in the chat is I'm going to put in my WhatsApp number, 0837908387. If you want to join, um, just send me a WhatsApp. Also, yeah, it is. But if you want to join, I think we still have at least a bit of time to prepare you guys. I still think your exam date is somewhere in November, but if you can just tell me, or in the chat, just clarify the date again. But I think it is somewhere in November. So I'll definitely, we've still got time. What I am going to do, going to post the video also will be posted onto YouTube, but I'll send you guys the link. I'll also send the presentation in the WhatsApp group as well, so that you have it. You can see the few that is still here. And then, by all means, please send me any questions that you had from the assignments, from your mock exam, anything that you struggled with, that you maybe have a picture of, please send that to me and I'll build it into one of the presentations. We can work through the questions, so that we get to prepare you guys good for the exam. So please, yeah, send any questions that you might have, that you struggle with, and we can cover that. Okay, have a good Sunday. And then I'll chat to you on WhatsApp to see what other time will suit you. Otherwise, it might be again next Sunday this time. But let's chat on WhatsApp and I'll let you guys know. Okay, have a good Sunday, everyone. Cheers.